Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're filming at the Northampton Central Seventh-day Adventist Church Bank. I'll be walking inside now just to give you an overview of what happens here. So every Monday at 12 o'clock, from 12 to 2, members of the community are welcome to this food bank where food is donated by members and other sources. So we'll go in today and just have a quick preview of what actually happens. So here we are going inside the building, and we have one of the 𝗃𝗃 twins. This is 𝗪𝘁𝗃𝗵𝗵. She's registering people who have come in, and we'll be speaking to Eileen later on. But yes, this is the entrance as we walk through. We go right through into the food bank hall. There are a few people there at this present time. So what you have here are a few tables with various food items on display. So apart from food stuff, we also have, as you can see, some children's clothing, ladies' clothing, men's clothing, some slippers, shoes.
What will those be found? Look, when we get some sunshine, you put it on the front.
And we have some more food along this side as well.
Oh dear.
So this gives you an idea of the different items that we have here on display, which are for members of the public and those in need. As mentioned, later on we'll be having a chat with the food bank organisers. That's the 𝗃𝗃 twins and some other members of the team. But this just gives you an overview of the kind of food stuff that is available on hand for people that are in need. Okay, good afternoon once again. Now we have one of the organisers of the food bank, and this is Sister Linda 𝗃𝗃, one of the 𝗃𝗃 twins. So Sister Linda, what are your opening hours for the food bank? Are you open every day, or how does it all work?
Well, we open every Monday between 12 and 2 o'clock.
12 and 2 o'clock every Monday.
That's
Fantastic.
right,
Okay. And so we've just gone round and had a look at the different items that you've got on display here. Where do you get your resources from? As in, these items, are they donated? Where do you get them from?
Well, some are donations, some are church members who bring them in. We get donations from various places. Lots of tin stuff and pasta and rice and vegetable oil. We sometimes get fruit and vegetables, but we haven't got any today. We've got lots of bread from the shops, which are over there. Lots of bread from the shop, and yeah, various sources. And we get cash donations as well, and we get donations through the church as well. Yes.
So if church members wanted to help support this cause, I mean, how would you recommend? What would be the best way for them to get involved? Do you need more manpower? Do you need more groceries? Do you need more items? How could the church help in supporting the food bank?
We do need manpower, and if they could come along between 12 and 2 on a Monday to help us. And also they can donate with some tin food or dried food. And also they can bring money, put money through the church, it goes through the church, then it can come to...
And then it goes through to you.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sister Linda. We'll also be talking to Sister Arlene, your twin, later on, and she would give us a brief overview of how this food bank has all come together and what's inspired, this food bank to open. So thank you very much for your service, Sister Linda. Thank you. Right, good afternoon once again. We now have our church pastor, our district pastor, Pastor 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. Pastor 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, thank you for joining us this Monday at the food bank. Just wanted to get your thoughts on the food bank and the service it provides to the community. Can you give us some thoughts on this, please?
Yeah, good afternoon, Brother Michael. Thank you for this opportunity. Out of the few charity service that we are doing as a church here in Northampton, food bank is one of the successful service that we are reaching to the community. I should thank Brother David and Sister Angela Sterling, who initially started this a few years back. Then it was kind of an independent ministry, but then as they came for some support to the church looked into it and then took this project. It is there this project turned out to be a real blessing to the local community. Right now we are a part of the many food banks here in Northampton district. We fall into the structure with a system called Restore, which gives us support to run the food bank, and they also give us people from elsewhere, from the community, to reach to us. So we put them in the system and then they come towards us. This is not only with a resource support, but then we find our church members found this very interesting, this project. And so their support has been on a larger scale right now. The church collects special offerings for this project, and then people in the church also bring their own products. This is not only the central church here in Northampton, the venue, but then the Harleston Road Church and the NISDA, which is called the Northampton International Church. All of us clock together on this project. They give us funds, and also wherever needed, they give their manual support. Right now, the leaders who've been appointed by the church, Sister Linda, Sister Arlen, with their team, support this food bank, and it has always been a blessing. Whenever they return their reports every week, it's always been a joy to hear people from the community are served, and especially during this COVID time. People are not into their normal way of getting these products, but then we follow the normal norm which has been presented with the distance and the face mask and cleaning our hands. We keep distance in providing, but the service is the same, and people are very much happy. We couldn't get the community to come forward and share with us what they get and how they feel because of the data protection and so on. But then when I see them, when I hear from them, they're more pleased, and even for that reason, Restore is very much convinced and happy with our service during this time period of this pandemic. And so I'm thankful to the Lord, and as a church we work together, and I pray that while we reach onto the community, God's name is glorified. And I think this is the love that we need to spread during this part of time, whereby God's name is glorified.
Thank you, Pastor. If I could also just ask another question, or maybe an observation. I noticed there were some Christian books there. So apart from giving them physical food, are we also explaining to these individuals that come through the love of Christ what we believe in as a church? Would you say this is another opportunity to do a form of evangelism?
Yes. While we reach onto the community with these normal food products and so on, our wish is to reach people with health messages and also the love of God. So we have some books related to health message, which people really like, because this is quite a general topic which they could look into. So people grab those. And then we also have some books of the love of God. And so when people are interested in it, there are a few members in the team who would like to talk to them. And if they are furthermore interested, then we direct them towards the church services, where they sometimes come and enjoy. Sometimes when special programs are there, they do come and attend that. I do believe that this is not only a physical food, but also a spiritual food that they get.
Thank you very much, Pastor, for joining us today, and we'll let you go now. We know you're very busy. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Mike.
Right, good afternoon once again. Now we have 𝗪𝘁𝗲𝗂𝗪. For most of you, I guess you couldn't tell the difference. I'm just taking it by faith that this is 𝗪𝘁𝗲𝗂𝗪.
I've only got your mother's word for it. She kept a tag on me until she knew the difference.
Right. Sister 𝗪𝘁𝗲𝗂𝗪, with the food bank, I just wanted to know, how do people come into contact with the food bank? So can people just walk in off the street and take part, or is there a process that needs to be followed? How is that process structured?
There's a referral system, but most of them go to Restore to be referred.
Okay.
But some, if they're desperate, they can come here and we can refer them.
So people can come in straight off the
People can
street.
come in, yes.
Okay. And I noticed today when I came in, there was a particular lady you was talking to, something about a fire.
She'd had a fire. Everything was burned.
Wow.
And everything was destroyed, and they got her a house, temporary accommodation. They sent her some furniture, but she hadn't got anything, so we let her come in to see the tables that's it's got items on, to see, and
Right.
we let her take what she needed.
Right.
Because it's normally one per person per family, but in circumstances like that, you don't, that goes by the board. You do what you can to help.
Fantastic. Okay. I'd spoken to our church pastor earlier, and he also mentioned that apart from the food items, you also give out books.
We do. We've got a table of books out there.
Right. Okay. That's and what kind of books do you give out? And what's do they come back and talk about the books? Is there any feedback on that?
Well, we've had one person that they've read all the Spirit of Prophecy books,
Wow.
and they come
Amen.
in. They come in. He comes regular, and he just wants books.
And he just wants books.
He reads. There's special circumstances, and we give him a bit of food, and he just wants books to
And
read.
he loves the spiritual food.
He does. Yes.
Amen. Amen. Well, Sister 𝗪𝘁𝗲𝗪, thank you very much, and thank you for taking part in this today. And may God continue to bless you and your sister. And we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Today we're with the co-founders of the Remnant Prison Ministry. That is Elder and Sister Woodburn from Northampton Central Church. And we'll be doing a short interview with them today just to find out more about the prison ministry program that they've co-founded. So you're welcome, Elder and Sister Woodburn. If I could just start off by asking you, how did you get involved with prison ministries? How did it all begin?
Okay, so it began 25 years ago. So it began in 1995, and it really was just this initial, just a burning, just to do something within the prisons. And it came about through a situation where a family member was in prison. So it was quite personal initially for me. And then just to bring the gospel into the prison. So that's how it began. And we visited the local prison where we lived, Northamptonshire. And literally the chaplain there was wonderful. We'd never been into a prison, either of us. And he just welcomed us in. and said, if you want to start ministry here, get a team together. So we went from there.
I think one of the main things that was the epicenter of the organizing of it is Angela prayed about the entire situation, and the Lord said to her, you know what, go in faith. So when we did eventually have a meeting with the chaplaincy, they encouraged us to come in, even if it was just randomly. And that gave us a little bit of hope, because to get into any prison at any other junction, as in, other than being incarcerated, it's extremely difficult. So the opportunity was then given to us. We then took that opportunity with both hands, I could say, and things started to move further. And then there was a group of us who continued in that vein.
Thank you. You mentioned 25 years. That's such a long time. And you also mentioned about forming a team. So would you be happy to mention some of the initial members that started out that team with you 25 years ago? And are they still involved today?
Yes, they are.
Oh, yes.
They are.
The team has escalated to the extent. Initially, it started off with Angela, myself, and a few members from the Northampton Central Church. That team was regular because we went to a prison that was local to Wellingborough, which is not far from Northamptonshire. And the team literally grew and grew because they also saw the need of ministering to individuals who somehow are come away from society. And sometimes, on many occasions, individuals who are incarcerated, they feel that no one loves them. There is no one to care for them. They may not have any family members to support or to guide them in any way. So when people volunteer their time, it's like, why have you come here? How comes you're here anyway? And you're giving us a message of hope. So it was a true blessing. And, many people were inspired by it. Hence, they joined the team. And more people joined the team as we continued over the years.
Yeah. So it started off with 15 local church members. And you can see that there'll be a slide with the team. And of that team, the majority are still with us. We had 2 members that one sadly has passed away, but he was faithful in ministry, and the other brother moved away to Jamaica. So obviously at the time we weren't international. So yes, I'd say 98% of the team that started with us has been with us on this whole journey for 25 years.
Amen. So we talk about prison ministries. What actually happens when you get there? I mean, we hear about prison ministries. When you go in there, do you meet the prisoners? I mean, how does it all work? What would a day look like going into one of these prisons? What would you do?
Initially, before you get to the prison, there has to be certain clearances made and implemented. So initially, you would need to have had your card, which allows you to go to the prison. Now, some of these cards are slightly different. You've got ones whereby you have national clearance, and national clearance allows you to go to any prison. However, if you are a visitor, you're allowed 3 prison visits for the year. And that gives you the opportunity, so you'd space your visits out. Nevertheless, when you eventually get into the prison, nothing in, nothing out. You are checked to ensure that you do not have any contraband on you. You are checked to make sure that you don't have any lip balm, any money, any items that could create a problem if it got through the system, and so forth.
Yeah, so that's a good start. We have to have all that clearance, which everyone has, and then we work with the chaplaincy. So we go straight to the chapel, we go through the gates and the bars and everything, and we get to the chapel, and we minister mainly in the chapel, where we would usually bring a service and or take part in a service. The inmates, mainly men at the moment. We haven't been in any female prisons in all these years, but it's in the UK. So it'll be the men would come to the chapel. We would have a service. We would bring books as well.
Oh, yes.
We have literally brought in hundreds of books. The Bible, our main book that we have been able to bring in, other books, Steps to Christ, 𝗓𝗓, Answers to Prayers, just to encourage the inmates we've also been able to bring in correspondence courses, and that's where we've been able to work with the Adventist Discovery Centre, and they would send back the correspondence forms that the men would bring in. So a typical service would be singing, music. In the early days, we would actually follow a book. We would follow a book and we'd bring that book in and give it for free as well. And we had opportunities where the men themselves have formed choirs, they would give their testimonies, and would involve them in the service as well with reading scripture. So that would be typically what would take place. And then the giving out of literature would usually be after the service, where there's a little bit of a time to mingle, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes. We would have a chance to socialise in the chaplaincy area. We wouldn't go to the wings, and that would all be within that area. And we would get to mingle with them at special events, carol services. They would have refreshments available for them. So we would get definitely in each visit. Visits would sometimes be monthly at one particular prison, bi-monthly at another one, or every 5th Sunday at others. So, you know, we would have that regularity, and that consistency, I can say, by God's grace, has been over the 25 years as well.
I think also, if you allow me, the whole idea of worship and also providing a service for the inmates is that even when we have left the premises, they are still in a position to take things on. And the reason why I mention that is because there is a library of where we could leave all of the books that we have just mentioned. And they at any point can travel to the chaplain and make good use of these literature. And many have said that, you know, it's transformed their lives. They've read the Great Controversy and they've come back for another one. So they'd use the steps to Christ. Then they would take a King James Version Bible and they would go back to their cell. And they would find that it's brought them peace over the period of time that they are incarcerated.
Amen. So here's another question. Elder Joe, you mentioned Wellingborough area. Are you limited to the UK in your prison ministry, or do you go beyond the UK?
The blessings of the Lord is that he doesn't want us to just tell people about the gospel in one location. He says, preach the gospel to tongue, nations and kindred. And we've had the opportunity to go to Wellingborough prison. We've also had some prisons up in Birmingham area, Dovegate and Rye Hill, and a number of other prisons that we have had the opportunity to attend. But also, we have gone further afield as well. So we've travelled over the years, and I suppose in a way 25 years is a small amount of time when it comes to spreading the gospel. But we're quite young, and the Lord has blessed us, so we want to do further things for his name.
Yeah. So we've over the years, I was able to actually go away to New Jersey, not to actually visit a prison. It was 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗲, a ministry in America where we were able to go for a ministry where they're ministering in America. So that was really exciting to be able to go and find out what other countries are doing in terms of ministry. But further to that, we, other than having our local events at church, having an awareness day, we had one in 2012 where we had some of the chaplains from the local prisons that we're at come to our church and share in their experiences, and we were able to raise funds to do more outreach and evangelism. So that's one of the things there. But going further afield again, we went on a mission trip to Nigeria. So that was last year, 2019. We went away to Nigeria. There was a team of 7, and on that with that team, we were able to meet with the team in Nigeria at Babcock University, and they have been doing prison ministries for many years. So our team was able to link. We had a particular elder from here who is from Nigeria. He went and attended Babcock University as well. And for that particular visit, we had Pastor 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗲, who is our prison ministries liaison officer in the North England Conference. So he led that team, and the other ministry, Anchor Ministry, they were instrumental in that mission trip. So although we started out many years, we felt kind of I wouldn't say lonely, but we were one of the few teams that had been consistent over the years. But what we've been able to do is members of our team have been able to join with others. So that trip to Nigeria was absolutely amazing. Monies was raised before from particularly some of the Birmingham churches, 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗲𝗀 and so on, where many of the team members are from. The conference was very supportive, the North England Conference, in giving funds, and donations were collected. So we were able to bring those across to Nigeria to get things that were needed, anti-malaria tablets, Medicaid soap, really ministering to their very practical needs, getting a generator and so forth. So the money was really well spent. That was one of the countries that we went to, and you know, it was a blessing. We were able to give food to them as well as the gospel. So we were able to meet their needs very practically and spiritually. And so that was quite amazing. And I think we also have gone a little nearer to home in Europe. So this year we went to Moldova. You want to share about that?
Yeah. We had the opportunity in January of this year, 2020, to go to the Republic of Moldova. And that was a blessing beyond belief. To see the inmates there and to see their behavior when they would see a number of people going into the prisons from one prison to another. We visited approximately 6 prisons in total, and that was female prisons, there were 2 of, and 4 male prisons. And when we got there, they walked around us, they were looking at us, they were thinking, who are these people who would come so far to visit us? The blessing that we find is God's people are everywhere. And sometimes people are incarcerated for all kind of different reasons. But nevertheless, they are grateful that the world doesn't cast them out to the extent that they don't get visits, they don't get food, and so forth and so on. And this opportunity that we had here at Moldova really inspired not only the inmates, but the team also, because we had worship every morning and every evening, and people would feedback on how they were blessed, because sometimes we would get the opportunity to minister to individual inmates, and they would be translators that would help us with our journey over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one particular dear thing that really touched many of us when we went to the Republic of Moldova was on our first visit. The first prison we went to was a male prison. We went to 6 altogether, and on the same morning we visited a mother and baby unit, which just blew us away, because when we saw that the mothers had their babies with them, they were allowed to keep them up until they were 3 years of 3 years of age, and it was just, there was a sadness to it, because many of them, their babies would be taken away after they were 3, but also, you know, we wanted to be able to support, because being in the prison house, they needed support. There was pastors over there. We had pastors from here go across with us. Pastor 𝗵𝗶𝗲𝗄 again, he was led this team along with Pastor 𝗪𝘃𝗲𝗄, who is Moldovan himself, so he was able to help with the translations. But when we got there, what was instrumental in particularly the mother and baby unit and the other prisons that we went to, was that the pastors over there, namely Pastor Dimitri and Pastor 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗲𝗄, they were instrumental in helping, and they do that work there. So when we went over, we were just joining in with the work that they're doing already there in Moldova. So we were just touched. The women were so grateful, the men were grateful, and we got to see some also of the work that ADRA has been doing, particularly in the mother and baby unit, because they had made a playground area so that the children could go out with their mothers, still within the confines of the prison grounds. So that was a real blessing. We visited more prisons, as we mentioned, 6 in total, and the guards and the team in the hospitals, in the prisons. I don't know why I'm saying hospital. In the prisons, it is a hospital for the sick, you know, in the mind, you know, in different ways. So that was a real blessing going across. I think just to mention, I can't not mention, that's really bad English, but I really need to mention the one of the prisons that we visited, where 𝗪𝘁𝗶𝗲𝗪. The prisons there are numbered, so that was prison number 17, and it's a maximum security prison, so you do life there. You don't go there and you'll get out. Many of the inmates there had been in there 15, 20, 25 years already. But what was amazing about this prison compared to all the others was we met our brothers there. They greeted us as if we were going to their church. They met us and they said, "Hello, sister, welcome." And they were deacons and they were on duty, and they were just by their post. These were men who had been baptized into the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they were on fire for the Lord. They sang, they welcomed us, and they gave their testimonies, and their testimonies left us moved and in tears, because their faith and their experience with Christ is so real, so powerful, and yet under the circumstances, you know, they were so encouraging, because they are not leaving the prison. They're there for life, but because they have found Christ through the work that the pastors are doing there, Pastor Paul and Pastor 𝗪𝘁𝗲𝗄 and many others, it's a real blessing. They evangelize to each other as well. Amongst themselves, they share in encouraging one another. So that was a real blessing.
Okay, thank you very much. I've got one final question, and that is, during this lockdown period, what have you been able to do? Has it stopped you? Obviously, I take it you're not physically going to the prisons anymore at this stage. So how have you gone about your prison ministry evangelism, if you like? And if I could just attach to it as well, if you could just answer this as well. If there are people watching this morning or this afternoon who would also like to get involved with your prison ministry, please let us know how, you know, that can be brought about.
Well, I think even though COVID has been rampant and impacted many a ministry, not only just the prison ministry, but one way that we have looked into it is the sending of clothing. And sending clothes to Moldova and various other places have been a ministry within itself, because people have brought things from near and from far. They have brought finances, of which we have, you know, put into the account at the NEC, so that they would have a pool of money. We would then also organize books and Bibles and further clothing for not only for the children, baby units for the women, but also for the inmates in their locations as well. And they would have shoes, they would have suits, they would have many clothes that has now gone and been received in Moldova. You know, sometimes we think what we do here is only the start and the finish. But when you see when it arrives there and the boxes have been taken out and the produce open, and then you see the smile on the face of an inmate, you feel that even though you are not there, you are there. And they are grateful. Their families are also touched, because they will get visits from people also. And people may bring in a few things, but then they think, well, who is this group? They came in January of 2020 and they're still bringing things. You know, when the Lord does his job, he doesn't do it by half. He does 100%. People are touched. Lives are transformed and changed. And it's a chain. So we are just part of the link, and we're looking into people joining that link.
Many churches have been involved across the NEC, particularly Erdington, King's Standing, Perry Beaches, Northampton Central, and many individuals as well. And so this really couldn't have been done without their support. We have sent in total 107 boxes in 4 separate collections since January. The last one was just in October, and people from all over, even people that don't even belong to our church, family members and others, have donated items, and they have been so appreciated. So we can see many trips, and the pastor himself, Pastor 𝗪𝘁𝗲𝗪, he has been able to deliver them directly to the male prisons, the female prisons, and also to the Mother and Baby House prison. So in terms of other people being involved with this ministry, we have an NEC account with the North England Conference, and the account details will be on the screen. We just had lots there, so we've got the account details on the screen. So the support can be done to help donate clothes, purchase Bibles, or sponsor a child. The sponsor a child is particularly for Moldova, but the North England Conference has an account there, so you can take part in, if anything is donated, then you really need to put specifically whether it's to sponsor a child for Moldova, whether it's for Nigeria, because we are helping with Nigeria as well, or it's to for Bibles, or whether it's for cash for clothes, because all the clothes that we send in the boxes have to be paid for, and they're weighed by a kilogram. So that is where some of the monies goes to as well. So lots of support has really been appreciated, and people can continue to support if they want to. For our local team, if for the future going into the prisons, if it's possible, you can see the address on the screen for the Northampton Remnant Prison Ministries team, and we have an address there, so if there's any other inquiries, they can be there. And if you want to contact the NEC directly, you can contact Pastor 𝗃𝗃𝗵𝗵, as he is the prison liaison officer for the NEC.
Elder and Sister Woodburn, thank you ever so much for taking time out to speak to us today. Our prayer is that God continues to bless your family and your ministry, and I'm sure we'll be speaking at some stage again. But until then, God bless you.
Praise God.
Amen. Thank you.
When we consider that Jesus Christ himself got his feet dusty with walking on the dust on planet Earth, we can't help but remember that community services, where Jesus was, is where the church meets his people today. And I invite all those who are called by his name to remember that you're not only a Christian, but you're also a community services worker. May God bless you as you go about your work for Christ.
Welcome to our Leicester Central SDA Church. We run community services here every alternate Mondays. We began in the year 2012. 2012, at that point, we did a survey to find out what the needs in the community were. Also, what we found out that there were great needs of people, especially at the time there were lots of people coming from different countries to settle in the UK. And they were actually, a lot of them were in need at the time. So this was our start. So we started with that group of people where we opened up, and the plan was that we did it every week initially to start with. At that point, we were having supplies that coming in from the church members were contributing then donation, and so we were able to start. We started small, but then it began to grow, and as it grew, we decided that we need to go a step higher, which was try and find out what other charities can help us. So I visited Sainsbury's, all those superstores, to see whether they can give us some sort of support in that area. And unfortunately, this did not happen because they were at the time saying that they supply other charities and they couldn't help us. So Pastor 𝗃𝗵𝗵 was then our pastor, and he was very supportive in this because this is something he was keen on and would like to see happen. So we went one step higher, which was 𝗲𝗄𝗄. And 𝗲𝗄𝗄 is a company that basically supply food and variety of food. So this was an option, a good option we thought at the time. So we followed through with 𝗲𝗄𝗄 and have continued with 𝗲𝗄𝗄. The numbers began to grow. At first, we had just, we didn't have any Caucasians at that time. But then we had like the community, the messages were just going through word of mouth. And basically people were just coming to us. And we began to expand from 7 to 20 to sometimes 30 and 40. I think we reached that number where we had about 40 people coming every alternate Mondays, because we changed it from the every Monday to every alternate Mondays. And they kept coming, and we were able then to accommodate all of them. And we began then to put a lot of other things in place that we can keep the service expanding and growing to meet the needs of most people within the community. So we started some extra groups like sewing group. So a few of the girls used to come and we'll sew and do things for the community. We had a knitting group, so basically it was a craft group with knitting or sewing and things like that. So with the knitting, I think that was more appropriate at the time, because what we did, we allowed, we would go out in the community as well. We'll go out in the community every summer to feed the homeless, and in the winter, we will go out in the community again to give them Christmas gifts. You know, so we'll wrap everything nicely in Christmas parcels, and we'll put like a scarf and hats and different things, and we'll go out in the community. So those were things that we were doing. And with regards to, we also had, we also had a baptism so many years ago. Not a baptism, yeah, we had one baptism. And also we had a baby dedication as well, as a result of the community services, yeah? So that was quite good. We were able to do a devotional spot to the community, and you'll find usually you'll have about 15 to 20 people, yeah, perhaps a little bit less. But they will come, and some of them were Christians, obviously. No one was forced to stay. Those who didn't want to listen, well, they just leave, but they'll come back for the food, basically. So we were able to carry on that until the lockdown, the devotional group, which was quite interactive, because they had the opportunity to ask questions or, you know, give their comments on certain topics that they may see. Right? So it all went on nicely and smoothly. They were all sort of very, very grateful, very thankful to the church. You know, they think that we as a church love the community, and they would express that. And we were visible in the community because we didn't have to promote anything. People would just come to us, you know. But we had such a system going that we make sure that we know each person, yeah. We let them know that information we are taking is just for our own personal benefit, you know, so that we know who they are. So we'll take things and we ask for their consent. We wouldn't do anything without their consent, which they would agree on. And once we get the consent, that's fine, you know. So then at that time, they were coming to us, yeah. The food that came from 𝗲𝗄𝗄 was then laid out. They were then able to come and help themselves, right? So we had like a number system where we would call their numbers. They come in, they get a number, and we call the numbers, and they'll come and they just pick what they wanted, yeah? Rather than us putting things in the bag and they go home and, you know. So they'll come and pick, and they love it because what they wanted they would take, and you know that they will make use of it. So that also ran very, very smoothly. So basically, we had a lot of very positive comments from the community that we serve, right? That we as a church really care for our community, and they can see the genuineness in us, because and friendships we have developed with some of them. Even now, there are about 2 of them that ring me and you know, just talk basically. There is one who used to be accessing food but no longer need food. However, she keeps in touch with me regularly, asking when she has a little turmoil in her life, she will ring and ask, can you pray for me? Can you pray for me? Can you pray for me? So, you know, it shows that that relationship has really been fostered among us. And also, when you go into the city center, they see you, they greet you, you know, and they'll say, oh, this is Grace from the food bank. You know, it's like, you know, and those sort of things. So it just shows that the sort of, you know, unity or the love, that thing, and they have no doubt about that, you know. However, of course, you know, we used to do a lot of outreach and have the Christmas program and different things that we would have, and they would come, and we also put in place was a food brunch, and that was an additional thing, yeah? So during the bank holiday, we'll use the bank holiday to do the food brunch, where we would prepare the food and they will come and we'll just lay up the tables and so on, and, you know, just make everything homely, and they'll come and enjoy themselves, eat and leave the food brunch. So we ran that for a little while. And now we're at the stage where we are now serving, no longer, because of the COVID, we are now serving with food parcels, okay? So they no longer come in the building because it's not safe for them to do so, because some of them have been shielding, but other than that, they still continue to receive food from us. So when we started in, I think it was after the COVID, it could be about April time, I believe we started with the food parcels. So the food is collected by 2 of our members. They're faithful and really committed in what they're doing, 𝗪𝗰, and also Darren. Darren is the guy downstairs, you know, very enthusiastic about what we are doing. And the food will come to us earlier rather than later, because before we depended on fair share to use volunteers. And with the volunteers, they can only come when they're available. So that will push us back and make it about 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, it all depends. So now we have got 𝗪𝗰 and Darren. Yeah, the food is here earlier. Although Darren doesn't go now to collect, because 𝗪𝗰 can manage that on his own, by himself. So once that is collected and the food comes to us, then we begin to bag the food. We have got a list of all the community, the people in the community we serve. We have got their list, we have got their contact number, we will phone them beforehand, let them know we are coming. You know, we are not leaving any food outside on the door. We actually will knock the door and go and, you know, wait until they come, you see them, leave the food on the table, on the doorstep if they're not there, and wait until they come to the door, so we actually know that they have taken it in, right? So that's what we are doing at the moment. So it's very good, and this is something that the team, we have got a fantastic team, very enthusiastic about what they're doing. Unfortunately, some of them are shielding and we cannot have the whole team out at the same time. However, those that we have, we tend to do a rotation so that others can have an opportunity. And we have the support of the pastor, we have the support of the members, you know, we have support of donation from members who commit to giving regularly because they so want to see community services continue doing what it's doing at the moment. So we are moving in the right direction. Like today, for example, we are waiting for the food supply to come in, and then we'll just bag everything, put the names of the person, each individual on the bag, and then each of the drivers will then take to the homes of the people. So that's where we are at. And yes, it's just so, it's something that keeps us going, and it's something I enjoy doing basically, and so is everybody else. And because of what we are doing here, this church is really visible, and it's raised a profile. I believe the profile of the church is risen because of this, what we are doing. So it's no longer the church just at the corner, but they will tell you the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They know the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So we just thank God for the support of the pastors and elders and everyone, church members. We give God thanks for that.
Right, since lockdown, I know I started my post in February, and then by the 16th of March, then the lockdown came. And we have the people, you know, our people, the guests who are coming to get food from us. We have been so close to them and all that. So I was asked to give the names to the pastor, those who are feeding the guests, yeah? So that pastor could take their name to the local authority, who will supply them with the food. But because we're so close, they have our numbers, and we also have their numbers as well. Quite a few of them rang us and said that, oh, they have been assessed, and from their GP, through the GP, they were told that they were not qualified for food. And most of them emphasized how life was so difficult for them. And that really put an impact in our life, you know, in my life and in my team as well, when I shared with them. And then I thought, well, we need to do something, because we can't let them go hungry like that. If the government can't give them, we have to chip in their life. So what I did, I went and talked to the Fair Share. This is the center where we are getting food to give them. So when I went to talk to them, they agree that they can give us food, but we need to get the food ourselves, and then just to then bag them. So when I talked to my team, we agreed that that's what we're going to do. So I have two gentlemen who agreed to go and fetch food, because that was good, because it means that we are going to take just few, according to the government instructions, that it should not be in the room for a long time, self-distancing, mask and gloves and all that. So because of that, the two gentlemen agreed to go and fetch food from the center, Fair Share Center, bring here, we bag them quick, and then we go out to deliver food to them. So we didn't invite them to come here because of the restriction which was there. So by coming here, bagging food, and then we drop food to them in their own homes. And that's what we have been doing from the 27th of April up to now. We have been doing that for them. And they really appreciate it, because, you know, initially they used to ringing me and say, oh, thank you very much, you know, because some say that have gone for about 3 days or 5 days without eating, but now because of what you have done, now I've got something to eat. Then I say, well, give God the glory, so that you can. So since then, we have been giving them food. And even some of our church members, when we say that, okay, we are carrying on with our community services, some members also agreed to come and help us delivering, because you see, people live scattered everywhere. There was one who was really quite a while out of Leicester, so I had few people who agreed to come and pick the bag and take to them, and that's what we have been doing all along. Because of these restrictions, and again we look at them, we know even the sandwiches with this, and you know COVID-19 is an airborne disease. So it is only the bag, we bag the food and then deliver to their place. We don't give them refreshment or give them sandwiches like we used to do before. And again, the bad thing is that we can't have this, the spiritual which we are spiritual gifts which we are sharing with them. We can't do that because they're just in their room, their homes. But God is working in a mysterious way, because like now, I know I've been told there are quite a few who heard about us and they're ringing for food. Some of them also ringing for Bible study. Yeah, like now there's one who pastor have just told me, this lady asked for a bag of food and asked for the Bible study for herself and her mother. So that's what we are doing now at the moment. So from here we'll see. We have been giving only bag of food since the beginning of, since 27th of April. But then now we'll see now what else can we add on top of what we are doing. Yeah, this is because, you know, long before the lockdown, we used to give them refreshment, because most of them were coming from very far away and they were walking up to here. So we were giving them refreshment, we were giving them the clothing, if they choose clothes and the shoes, and we are also giving them the spiritual life as well. Of which the spiritual life they really used to enjoy, because the elder could come and just do the video, giving them these stories in the Bible, share with them, and asking them, you know, the story, how they understand it and all that. And they were showing a lot of interest on that, actually. Yeah, that even the time when he's not there, and like for us, we are only there, that we say, oh, today you are not going to see the video. You can just see how this, oh, when is he coming back again? So we just say, well, God will provide. So, but like now, they are happy because they know, they understand, because of the COVID. That's why we can't carry on all those activities for them. But we're praying for God. God will give us a way of doing it. So some of them, they're asking for the Bible study. So we'll just see how we can be catering for them as well. Yeah.
My name's James, James Rawson. I come here quite regularly on a Monday when I can. I work part-time. Because I work part-time is because it only limited amount of money, so this just helps me to boost up my food and stuff like that, and it's helpful, and I know people down here and know people from different places, and yeah, it's alright, and people who really need it, like more than me, but also it's also good for me as well, and it gives me something to do for the afternoons, because I know normally do not work in the afternoons anyway, apart from coming straight from work today, so that's why I've still got my uniform on. That's the reason why, you know.
It's a joy for me to be here in Leicester. I believe that this is fantastic. This is church, in that the church is with the community. We have over 30-something persons coming off the streets, coming here to be fed, a food bank here for them to get their food. And they're expressing their thanks and gratitude to the church, the way in which the church is taking care of them. And this is what we would want to see as North England Conference within the strategy, whereby we reach out to the community and help the community as best as we possibly can. We want to foster what Christ says in Matthew chapter 25 and verse 40. When you have done these to the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me. The church is at work when we take care of the needs of people. I want to express my thanks to Sister Grace Walsh and Sister Grace Belgrave here at Leicester Central Church, and the wonderful team that they have here working together. We want to say to God be the glory. And from the North England Conference, we want to salute them and thank them for the tremendous work they're doing. May God bless all of you as you continue to carry out the work of the Lord. God bless.